Hey coffee nerds. So today I wanted to tell you a quick story, but I seem to be falling down. Alright, this is better. So, as some of you may know, a few years ago I actually took a bike ride. Well, this concrete is very hot. I took a bike ride all the way across Spain from here, my home in Barcelona, back in 2016, all the way to Galicia on the west coast. So I did essentially the El Camino de Santiago, but by bike. So normally people do it walking. I did it by bike because I wanted to check out and explore all the clandestine coffee places along the way throughout Spain. And back at that time, 2016, it was really just Barcelona and Madrid that had a majority of the specialty coffee here in the country. Of course, there were a few more places popping up, but I did a quick search online and I really couldn't find anything. So I wanted to take it upon myself, take two wheels. It wasn't this bike. This is more of a vintage city bike, but I collaborated with a few brands and made this trip a reality. It was something I've been wanting to do for a long time. So the reason why I'm sharing it with you today on video is because I never really got the chance to document it for my YouTube. This is before my YouTube channel. I did take a lot of photos and I did a lot of writing. So if you're more of a reading type, I'll leave the blog post link down in the description. That is on my blog, thenomadbarista.com. But yeah, I want to do it again. I want to do something like this again by bike in a different country and investigate coffee in a different place. Maybe some places that are a little bit more well known for their traditional side of coffee. Some places that really call my attention are Turkey, for example. You know, maybe some places like Italy, of course, has a strong coffee culture. Also some of the Scandinavian countries, but also Asian countries. Indonesia has a long history of producing really great coffee that I feel has not really gotten to see so much of the specialty coffee world yet. But there are some amazing regions there. And then of course, you know, South America. I would love to bike across Colombia, Ecuador. I also would love to hear from you. What would you like to see in videos like this? What kind of things would you like to learn along the way as I learn them? So maybe it has to do with the local culture, the local food as it pairs with the coffee culture, or maybe a little bit of the history there, or maybe you want to see more landscapes. Maybe you want to have more interviews with local business owners who are really making a difference in their local coffee scene. So I'd love to hear that from you, but in the meantime, I want to leave this spot because it really is burning me here on the concrete, and let's find some shade and I want to tell you all about my trip across Spain. So I started my journey right here on this very beach. I decided I wanted to go exactly coast to coast, dip my feet in, and then go to the Atlantic coast. So this is the Mediterranean, and I really didn't have a clue of what I was doing. All I knew was I needed to get from Barcelona to A Coruña, which is a city in Galicia on the coast, and I knew more or less how many kilometers I wanted to do per day, but I kind of just winged it and followed Google Maps to get me to where I wanted to go. But I found 3 distinct specialty coffee places on the way that I could not find on Google or any sort of search, or any sort of Instagram was not as well developed back then in terms of specialty coffee. So that was a really important part of this adventure. So the first big city that I landed in was Zaragoza. I had no idea what was going on there. In fact, along the trip I decided I wanted to couch surf as much as I could. So I found a couch surfer there, but he just wasn't ready until later that night. So I actually had to, it was raining a little bit, I had to find some shelter. So I went to one cafe that I found on the map. It wasn't specialty coffee, but what was cool about it, it was a bike shop, sort of bike repair shop and cafe. So while I was there, I started asking around, like, does anyone know any other specialty coffee shops in Zaragoza? And they pointed me towards someone who had a bike shop, and they were serving specialty coffee on a different part of the town. So I wrote them on Instagram and I said, hey, look, I'm looking for specialty coffee. What can we do? How can we make this happen in my short time here? So the owner of the shop, he actually drove down to come and get me. He said, leave your bike here. We're gonna go to a place called San Jorge Coffee Roasters, super clandestine. It was in an old hacienda, sort of outside of town. Yet we had to drive there. It was getting a little bit later, but we took the car and we went to this place. And the roaster is his name is Ezekiel, and it's really cool to see 4 years later their roastery really thriving and growing and all over social media. So I'll leave the link down in the description to San Jorge, but that was the first place on the journey that I just kind of came across because someone was willing enough to show me that roastery. So I'll show you a few photos here of the space. It was really cool to see that in its beginning stages. But it was these folks that actually pointed me in the direction of a place that I needed to visit next. One of the cities a little bit further along on my journey, not the next city, but a few more days later, I arrived in a city called León. And León is a beautiful Spanish town or city in the middle of Spain, basically right in the middle north of Spain. Beautiful tapas, great nightlife, but they have a coffee roastery there called San Agustin. So there's a lot of saints in the Spanish coffee scene, but San Agustin had been roasting there for quite a long time, and it's something that I probably wouldn't have found on a Google search either, because it was essentially a bar. They were very well known for their tortilla, patatas, and different tapas that they have going on there, but he was roasting there at San Agustin at the time. And again, this roastery has really started to take some feet here in Spain and really distribute this coffee across the country. So it was really cool to kind of run into San Agustin Coffee Roasters in its very early stages. And it was there that the owner had told me about the cafe that I needed to visit once I got to A Coruña. So this was going to be basically a week afterwards. I would be arriving in A Coruña on the coast of Galicia, and there was a cafe there called Dispar. And so Dispar is it was a small cafe, very, very small, owned by a lad named Jean. And Jean was he's actually become a good friend of mine now, but he was running this cafe and he was using coffee roasted by San Agustin, and it was all Colombian coffee because he is from Colombian descent, finally made it to Spain and decided he wanted to introduce specialty coffee to his town of A Coruña, which he later moved to. So that was really cool to just have like one point after another leading me to more specialty coffee. And that comes back to why I'm making this video as well. I want to share with you sort of my introductory trip of cycling across the country looking for coffee. And so I'm going to be putting together a little bit of a series here. If you have any suggestions for countries that you would like to see me bike through and explore the coffee scene there, leave it in the comments. If you have any specific things that you would like to see from these different places, you know, as I mentioned, whether it was the traditional coffee scene, interviews with people, more of the landscapes, maybe some more of the food, the alcohol, the tea. And if you like this idea of me biking across more countries, just give this video a like. That'll let me know that maybe this is something worth pursuing. You know, I've been wanting to do this again for a long time, and so we'll see what happens. Cheers.